everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of the Royal Blue podcast. We're here to celebrate everything that is Rotterdam 1985, 4 full decades on from what remains Everton's only major European trophy, joined by our regular guest, Gav Buckland, but also one of Gav's old mates, Pete Leonard, who Gav tells me he's known to everybody as Fingers.
Pete Fingers.
Yeah.
To give myself my full time.
Yeah. I mean, dare we ask why?
We were at school together, weren't we? And it was your skill on the piano, I believe, that...
So my uncle Johnny was a key part of the Boomtown Rats.
Okay.
So we formed a kind of band that never put pen to paper as such.
Because that was Johnny Fingers from the Boomtown Rats, you see. So we then became, because Pete could play he was the pianist, not because
Fingers
he
Junior,
could play the piano, he became Fingers Junior.
Okay, so you're not going to do a turn for Goodison's for the Southampton game, maybe for the end of an era?
Give it a go.
But there you go. If you're watching, I mean, on the in trade this week, the new chief executive, he's planning for
absolutely,
entertainment there.
Those days have gone past, haven't they? Really.
Yeah, so we're talking about when both Pete and Gav were in their prime. Was it just 19 years of age, Gav, was it?
Yes.
Back then, that game, obviously, Rapid Vienna. We've already had the special for Bayern Munich, which is widely regarded as Goodison's greatest night. But then I was told, actually, I was watching the game back myself, obviously, for preparation for this, and some great commentary from Brian Moore and Brian Clough with his comments as well, but saying there's possibly as many as 25,000 Evertonians at the game, and Pete and Gav were amongst
were there.
Yeah.
We were just before we came in. We had 2 different stories how we actually got there, because we went on the same coast, didn't we? But we couldn't remember where we got picked. Well, I couldn't remember where we got picked up. I thought we got picked up by ours in Sheedy, but you said it was somewhere in Everton or something, didn't you?
Yeah, from memory, I think I got down to yours, which was
on the Tuesday night. This was, wasn't it?
On the Tuesday evening, and then the coach left about 10 o'clock or something from Netherton, and then the ferry was Dover to Calais, which was a bit of a shorter ferry route, but a longer drive when you got. When you got
it was,
to the
yeah. You didn't realise that
or anything like that.
No, it was how flat it was. The other thing we had forgotten about, said, who did I sit next to on the coach? And there was 4 of us who went down. And we'd all in separate seats because we were there late, and you ended up being like by a fella who was bladdered, didn't he?
He was already bladdered by the time he got on the coach.
Okay.
Which maybe could have been a warning.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
To us, but
it was all a bit chaotic. I remember we got down to Dover, didn't we? It was about 6 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
And I remember the ferry was pretty smooth. And one thing when you remember, like going to Holland, is how flat it is.
Yeah.
It is it is like totally flat, and then we got into Rotterdam and we went to city centre, didn't we? In the city centre for easily midday, was it something, maybe even before?
I think we arrived maybe half 11 on the Wednesday morning, and then straight to the supermarket.
The supermarket, I just got the beer was that cheap, and just in there's like some photographs there, and we just sat in the squares, didn't we? Just generally pestering anybody who walked past for the photograph, and. There was the impression I got, there was more. I mean, you go into groups who would like you, aren't you? Your supporters, that there was more Everton than far more Everton than Rapid Vienna, and we spoke to quite a few Rapid Vienna fans.
Yeah, it was maybe a bit like Church Street kind of layout, like a pedestrianised street.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would have said. It's hard to estimate, but I would have said like 4-1 Everton for Rapid Vienna.
Yeah, so it was largely Everton, and it was great. People have seen the photographs of the supporters playing football with the Dutch police, and the head of the Dutch police, a fellow called I think his name was Patrick Verwaar, who became chief executive of the Merseyrail franchise later on. Which is a bit bizarre, isn't it? And so it was really good atmosphere, wasn't it? And then we went up. The time to go up the ground about 5ish, was it, something like that?
Yeah.
By the time things become a little bit blurry. Yeah.
A little hazy.
And I think we remember we got the train up, didn't we? Up there, and we got outside the ground, and then there was a problem then, wasn't it?
There was a bit of a problem. Yeah, I discovered that mislaid my match ticket during the course.
Slight
of the,
issue there. Isn't
Yeah,
there?
absolutely. Yeah. I think I started a few beers. I was like, sort of, wasn't really resonating with me at that stage.
No.
And we going, what are we going to do now? Because there didn't appear to be like a place you could buy tickets from, I think for security reasons. And then out of nowhere, there was this fella, but he was he having like a beard and stuff, was he? He was a big fella. He was like this, like a massive beard, big fella. I think he was
Father Christmas for you, wasn't it?
And and he just come and said, "Do you want any tickets?" And we said, "Yeah." And he gave us like you see books of postage stamps where they're all like the 6 of them together. There was like about 6 match tickets, wasn't it? He just said, "Have them." And like, so we just thought, we'll take them. And I don't remember. We took 2, didn't we? But we had 4. I don't know what we did with. Do you remember what we did with the other 4?
I thought there was 3.
Yeah. No, I think there was more. 3. There's more than that.
Was a few have been lost in the midst of time there, haven't it?
Or maybe there was 3 and I'm just elaborating.
Double Gav at point.
We got to the ground and we went in, didn't we, to our tickets and we quickly discovered we were not in the right end. Yeah. Where we were.
No.
Was this where you got your cap, or was that later on? We're just asking about
these are Pete's memorabilia, not mine.
That was during the course of the afternoon.
That was earlier on.
I mean, the Rapid Vienna fans that we chatted to, like, were
great.
Spot on. Like, it was really friendly atmosphere.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was great. And you had your bubble as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
And so it was a really good atmosphere, and it was a good atmosphere around the ground as well because it was a lovely summer's evening, wasn't it?
Balmy night.
Yeah, it was. And so we got in the crowd, and then we realised. And the thing is, I had my Everton shirt on. Did you have your Everton shirt on as well?
I had my bobble hat.
And his bobble hat, it was probably a giveaway.
Yeah.
And so it quickly got picked up by security. We're in the wrong end, and it was get thrown out here.
Yeah.
And so it all right was they go up to us. And he said to the court, he goes, "Where did you buy your match tickets from?" And I said, thinking on for me, thinking on quickly, I said, from Everton. And where did you say? Yeah.
So I said simultaneously, some fella outside just gave them to us.
Yeah. And so we tried to talk our way out of it and just talked our way into even more trouble. But the security were good, weren't they? They just did they walk us through the stadium to our end?
Yeah, I would have said so. I think they pointed us in the right direction at least. I mean, they were used to European finals, weren't they?
Yeah, because Rotterdam had been a great stadium for English clubs and carried on like that because Villa had won the European Cup there 3 years before. It was 28 years ago no, it's not 28 years ago. It was 22 years ago to the day since Tottenham had won the Cup Winners' Cup there against Atletico Madrid.
Not the first British club.
Yeah. Man United later won there as well on May the 15th. So they were all games played on May the 15th as well. So it was a big stadium and they were well used to hosting games. But so we ended up just getting 2 random seats, didn't we, in the Everton end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And most of the Everton was virtually all taken, maybe all the seats, if I remember.
Yeah. I can't remember what was the eligibility for final tickets, though. Yeah, I can't remember how we actually got our tickets.
I think I had a season ticket. And so we got them. Yeah. But I think in those days, you still, even the best team in Europe, you're still only getting 30,000.
Yeah.
And not everybody was going to go to Rotterdam because it was just it was pricey, Chris. It wasn't like now where you could do it cheap. Travel, and so if you took 25,000, that's great. Great result, really. So I think basically, if you wanted a ticket, you could get a ticket from the club, But it was pretty chock at our end.
Yeah.
And we started. It's just funny how over the years, I always thought, as you see on the tally, we were on the far end at the Everton end, but you were just showing me photographs beforehand. We were on the near side to the camera side, weren't we, of the Everton end. Just funny how you think you misremembered things it, yeah. I vividly remember Andy Gray scoring and going like that, but it wasn't. I was going like that, Just one of them things, yeah. But it was there was a few supporters asleep, if I recall.
Okay,
you possibly did miss the entire 90 minutes.
Yeah, and obviously they had the final obviously being such a battle against Bayern in the semi, but Peter Reid was actually speaking about how some of the Everton players had actually gone on previously to do a bit of a scouting on Rapid, because of course they'd had that replay game against Celtic at Manchester United. So we're just going to hear from Peter Reid here.
It's 4 of us went over to Old Trafford because Rapid Vienna and Celtic had to play a playoff game because of some incident with the crowd.
The crowd, yeah.
I wanted Celtic to win because it's a team that, you know, and it's a support. I'm thinking Celtic are going to win this. And I think they got done 3-1. And to be fair, Rapid were the better side. So it's injured disappointment, but it was me, Andy, Big Andy Gray, Sharpie and Inchy. Went the game, and we all come away and I went, they can't beat us. And they all went, yeah, we think the same, but we're not going to say it. He said, as soon as I've said it, they've all gone, yeah, it's right, they can't beat us. And we honestly, I mean, they had Krankel and Panenka, you know, they had them in the sides who were past the best, but good players, and they were good on the night at Old Trafford, and we'd watch videos, but we all knew we had too much for them. And on the night in Rotterdam, we were very, very good. Very good. I mean, in a different way than the Bayern Munich game, the semi, controlled football, possession. I mean, there's one where Trevor Steven, it's one, and he must have had about 30, 40 passes before they got a touch. It was the keeper flicking over the bar. We were very, very good that night.
Do you remember much about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think picking up on Bob Reedy's point was, as if I know him, is I think people were saying before the game, like, because we've been Bayern Munich, that was just a general consensus, wasn't it? That Rapid Vienna we're like a far easy team to play against, isn't it? Really, and didn't have anybody like, I mean, Krankel, who's the centre forward, he'd been a top player in the time he played for Barcelona, and obviously Panenka, who'd been, he did obviously, we don't know what Panenka did, but he was on the bench, he was injured, and he was probably 10 years past his bench. So you're looking at them, and you know, we're not playing Barcelona or one of the top Italian teams. You've done the hard yards in the semi-final. So I don't remember thinking, it's going to be a tough game.
No, I mean, I think firstly, like, no one was beating us anyway, so the players had every right to be confident, the players and the manager. Yeah. We also had another cup final at the weekend, which probably was, you know, on paper, as it proved as well, going to be a harder game. Yeah. So to some extent, we probably did give a controlled performance. I think the first half, particularly, we were maybe a bit less adventurous and a bit less gung-ho than we could have been. But the impression I remember is like we knew how to win the game.
Yeah, I think that team, I mean, that was the thing about that team, is they knew how to win games, how to get games over the line. And and there's loads of games that season where it's 0-0 after 40, 50 minutes, and all of a sudden it's 2-0. Yeah. And it's game over, you know. And I think Pete's right. I remember, actually, before we go on to the game, I think Howard said, didn't he, that he'd been to see them the semi-finals. I think he got the semi-final on tape and stuff. And he thought, you know, we're going to beat these. And I think, you know, unless they have a massive off night, we're going to beat them. But I don't want to tell the players that. But I think he showed before the game, he thought how confident they were, because they didn't do any training in Rotterdam. Okay. They just flew straight into Rotterdam, played the game, and then come home. So I don't think they massively prepared to play them. I think they had more of an eye. You said Pete, more around the cup final. Yeah. And I think that showed that actually, without being complacent, that we don't want to waste any energy here. Because we've got a big 4 or 5 days ahead of us, and I think Howard, you know, the clues to Howard's attitude is the fact that actually they didn't train, they didn't make it a massive occasion. They just sort of made a game just to win and then come home. And my recollections are the same as Pete's for the first half. Is we had a lot of the ball, but I think there was a shot by Sheedy that the goalkeeper was 1-2, wasn't it?
Right foot as well.
Yeah. Well, we had a disallowed goal
wasn't it?
Manfield shortly before half-time.
On the offside.
Yeah, and I think Howard thought that they had the weakness of the far post, which transpired in the second half. And I think you can watch that goal again a few times. I've not seen it for a while, but he was onside, and because I think he had it back, didn't he? Andy, and it was quite obvious we were much the better team, but we went in at half time, and it's like a lot of games that season. It was just a case of just keep plugging away. You're far better than the opposition. Your chances will come, and they usually did. To be honest with you, and then that was proved right in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, given that Bayern had been beaten, it was a sentiment shared by Kevin Sheedy as well.
They were on to win the Bundesliga that year.
Yeah,
they were a top side, so we knew over 2 legs. Then obviously we beat them. I don't think we weren't overconfident, because you've got to a major final. You don't want to slip up here, even though we were. We'd seen them playing Celtic at Old Trafford, so we knew they were a decent team, but we knew we were better than them, and if we performed on the night, and they had a striker, Hans Krankel, so I joked with Kevin Ratcliffe, we're going to have to score 2 tonight, because he's definitely going to score, sort of thing, like. But we scored. I took Andy Gray played Sharp. Sharpie played Andy Gray. He scored. We were cruising, really, and there's a couple of bits of play where we've just dominated the ball, sort of thing, a couple of half chances. And then we were 2-0 up. Yeah. And then Hans Krankel scored. And then I think they were still celebrating because from the kick-off, the ball got played up to Sharpie. He laid it off to me, and I could see their keeper sprinting out, so I knew if I could lift it over him. So I managed to lift it over him, hit the underside of the bar, and so that was... again, a great night. That was game, set and match again. So it was great. My parents were in the crowd. Loads of Evertonians who, when you speak to them, have so many special memories about the semi-final and the final.
Yeah, obviously we said Bayern was such a battle, but then you got a ball player like Kevin Sheedy, he could really sort of dominate in this kind of match. I mean, it's his corner. Actually, see him pushing the cameraman out the way on the footage.
The second goal, yeah. I mean, the first goal was, ironically, it was their mistake, wasn't it? The first goal.
Yeah.
What happened?
Was it the back pass?
Yeah.
It was a back pass, wasn't it? And then Sharp kind of intercepted, got there before the keeper. Kind of went round the keeper, and Andy Gray just hangs back a bit towards the back of the penalty area. Sharp chips it back to him, and he's got an empty net to put it.
And that was the good thing about it. All 3 goals were at our end, And I remember watching that, and you watching Sharpie when he gets past the keeper, doesn't he? And he tips the ball back through the keeper's hands.
Puts it through his hands,
yeah. And I remember Andy saying that it looks a straightforward finish, but you forget the context of the game. It's a European final. You're kicking towards your own supporters. It's sort of one of them chances that it's come unexpectedly for you from a back pass. So I think even Andy, who could be quite blasé about such things, it's my job and all that. I think he said when I got it, I thought I'm under a little bit of pressure here, and first European fan, all that. Open goal, and he said, like, fortunately, it came on Andy's left foot as well, which helped. And if it had been the other side, it might have been a bit more of a struggle. Andy clean suck shot, wasn't it? And went in, and it was a bit mad, wasn't it?
And was that his last goal for Everton?
Yeah. I just remember lots of people just falling over seats and stuff, and because it was obviously seated. They had that mad thing at Rotterdam, wasn't it? The very bottom, wasn't it? The people stood, didn't they? Right, so pitch level.
Yeah,
remember?
Area
it was a bit of a strange setup, really. Okay. And and there was supporters on the far side, wasn't it, from the camera side? They were sitting down, and so it was our end, and that made it bad. But I remember, it was just a bit chaotic, wasn't it? It probably doesn't capture on TV like that, the limbs and stuff in general, beers being flung out around, and people generally falling on the floor and ending up 3 rows behind where they started. And I think once we scored, I think we thought that because
I think so. I mean, what points of the match did the second goal come?
The second goal was about 70, was it, something like that? I think.
Yeah, and then obviously the Krankel's is 85, and then Sheedy's is 86.
Because we had, I think, really touches on it there. There was that, and I remember watching it at the time. And it was in the Howard's Way documentary, wasn't it? There's a marvellous passage of play, isn't it? Where there's, I think it's, 30 passes involving all the Everton players apart from the 2 centre halves. And I think Southall started it, and they just manoeuvre the ball, don't they? round the pitch from left to right and then back again. And I know, but what did we got at Everton? I think that team was all of a sudden the pace just quicken the pace all of a sudden. It'd be just knocking about and then all of a sudden it'd be you're in and I think it was Bracewell whatever passes it to Trevor and Trevor turns, doesn't he? And he blasted it, didn't he? But actually, if he'd have done like a Bayern Munich type finish, I think he blasted it, and didn't he? I don't know if the keeper got a touch over the bar, but it was a fantastic move. That if anybody ever says since that team was all a bit, it's about Bayern Munich with all brawn and physicality, just show him that.
I think it was silk and steel, wasn't it? There was a lot of the spine of the team was steel, but Peter Reid could play great football. Yeah, Kevin Ratcliffe's passing wasn't the best, but he knew that, and he fed the people who could play. Paul Bracewell was like a thing of beauty, wasn't he, that season? Yeah. Kevin Sheedy's left foot.
Yeah, I mean, it was the classic 4-man midfield, wasn't it? Where you've got like the balance between silk and steel, as Pete says, and we had our silky bits were on the outside, wasn't it? Because we had the steel in the middle, but the players you could play and pass the ball. And Reedy's influence went beyond just doing stuff on the pitch, and I think you saw that in that move and in Rotterdam. Though in the first half, I thought they gave us a lot of space out wide and we didn't cross the ball well in the first half. We were much better in the second, and then we make it 2-0 from that's Howard. Be quite cute, Howard. I think he said before the game that. I think he said to the players that they got a bit of a weakness at the far post, so that's what they tried to do with Manfield in the first half, and they binged it over, and they had a bit of an overload at the far post, and Trevor knocked it in.
I mean, it was shocking defending.
Oh
the corner just comes over. It's a fairly low play corner, isn't it?
It wasn't the best, but it just sort of went through a crowd of players, and Trevor had an easy tap in, and we just thought it was. As the many newspaper headlines said next day, good night Vienna at that stage.
Yeah, and obviously it meant so much to all those Evertonians, but somebody who'd actually started in the Goodison Terraces himself, like our two guests there, Derek Mountfield, meant so much to him as well.
I think the final was the semi-final. Yeah. I don't think that would happen nowadays. They make sure that the seeds don't play each other. Yeah. I think they would have loved Celtic in the final. Because they had that replay against Rapid Vienna, someone throwing a bottle against someone, and then they lost the replay. So we could have played Celtic in the final. You never know. But the final for us it wasn't an anti-climax. No. We had to do the job. But we felt so confident. We really did. So confident. And you look at some of the footage I've seen from the Howard's Way, and I didn't realise how much good football we played that night. Yeah. We played some fabulous football that night. Yeah. And I've seen the Brian Clough quote since then. And at 2-0, we're cruising. At 2-1, we're all going, you're going. The fans are going, oh no, here we go again. And then Sheedy finishes off. Tremendous night. Yeah. Tremendous night. And to say that I am part of that team means a hell of a lot to me. It really does.
Yeah, and the Clough quote, actually, I think Derek's referring to there. He's talking about English clubs. Says, we're back winning European trophies. We're in the habit, and I think we'll carry on winning European trophies. But nobody's done it as well as Everton. They've done it in style, and as we say, Crankle pull one back, but straight down the other end. And
well, I think Howard said, didn't he, that wasn't he getting somebody was trying to interview him when Crankle scored? Said, what's it like to win a trophy? And like Howard's about to give the interview, then Crankle scored. I think he just broke the offside section, and that was literally their only. I think they had 2 shots all night, and then Crankle scored, and then. I would go shoves him away. Then Sheedy's got it. I would go come back. Yeah. I think it would 3-1 probably doesn't even give justice to our domination, and 3-0 probably did, but to give them a goal was probably a bit.
I think if we'd really gone like full pelt at them, we could have. Yeah. I'm not saying we could have scored at will, but we could have won the game more comfortably.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I suspect in all of this. That I think they were conserving some of their energy for the final 3 days later. It was quite unusual, see, because the Cup Winners' Cup final used to be the week after the Wednesday after the FA Cup final. It was unusual because when Arsenal did both in 80, they played the Cup Winners' Cup final, the FA Cup final. They played the Cup Winners' Cup final on the Wednesday after the FA Cup final, and as it transpired, that might have been better for us, I think, rather than beforehand. And I think that it's just, you're right, Pete, that you get the impression we were 80%, certainly the second half, you know, once they got ahead. And I think they would control football in the first half because they knew that they didn't have to go at a hammer and tongs. Yeah. But I do think in that certainly the second half they had one eye on the on the final 3 days later.
Yeah. And just our final quotes from Trevor Stephen. He's just talking about, as we've alluded to already, just the way they played there in contrast to the Bayern game.
Roy the Rover stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it was really, and I'm still only 21, and about to go as well. You know, not long after to go to a World Cup playing for England, and I just made my England debut as well. I mean, a lot came really fast for me, and that to again win another final. It was a bit chaotic afterwards, wasn't it? When the trophy presentation. Yeah. But that's how it was then, right? Yeah. That's just how it was. Yeah. And it was great. It had its own beauty about it. Yeah. It was messy, but we loved it. Absolutely loved it. And, you know, I couldn't miss either. You know, Sheedy knocks the ball in, gets the cameraman out of the way, all right? And then he knocks the ball in. And the ball wasn't touched by anyone. It just came straight through to me. And I could see it. So, you know, oh my God, it's coming to me. Just kept it down, just strike it, and it goes in at the near post for me. And, perfect.
Yeah. Well, very different games. Well, was, like you say, Bayern Munich was a battle. This was a very much a controlled, dominant performance.
Yeah, it was classy. Yeah, I think it was a classy performance where we couldn't be classy against Bayern because it was too much of a battle. Yeah. It was more like the local derby against Liverpool. It was one of those where everything is full on, and this was full on and a bit more. Yeah, and but we controlled the final against Rapid, and we played extremely well. We always had the game under control. Our players played fantastically well. Everybody, had an 8 out of 10, and it was a wonderful way to win it. And Sheed's goal after Hans Krankel had brought them back into the game fleetingly. Yeah, for Sheeds to go up just showed the class of the team and of Sheeds to finish it like he did.
Like I said, it was a strong finish, but like I said, it was chaotic at the end.
The scenes, because they were on the camera side, wasn't it? The trophy win, so you didn't get a great view. You don't see it on telly, and you just see a group of people in the middle. Yeah. They weren't the orchestrated shows that they are now.
And there was the trapdoor, wasn't there? The teams used to come up.
Oh yeah.
Trapdoor in that
in the ground,
from underneath. Yeah.
So there was a little. When you see some, even the ones before '85, it was a little bit anticlimactic. The trophy, but when you've won the European trophy, Chris, you don't care. Yeah. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really matter. It was it was just. I remember just watching it. It was great. And then. We just talked about whether we just left the ground shortly afterwards, and then when we got the coach somewhere, didn't we?
The coach, the long trip back.
The long trip back. But
I think for people kind of our age group, whose formative years were in the 70s, like to be there for Everton winning the European trophy. Yeah, the players to some extent had to kind of ignore that emotion.
Yeah.
The supporters certainly didn't.
No, and I think that's because we did the 14 years we were at school, like it was 870 to 84, and stuff, right. And so you had the spectre of Liverpool, and also the spectre of Liverpool winning European trophies and stuff, and so to win the European trophy was a big thing, but the funny thing was it became about the treble then, hadn't it? Really, and. I think when we did the Bayern Munich game, Chris, I think Penna was saying, Dave Prentice was saying, we were talking about this. It at the time, it didn't seem, it was a massive game, but it wasn't like what you would envisage, because it was at the end of that season was massive game after massive game, wasn't it? Went to played at Spurs, Sunderland. We had the 2 games by Bayern Munich. We'd won the league against QPR. We got the trophy. we lost the unbeaten run of Forest because he failed the weekend team game. You went to that game, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, at 28 games unbeaten. So it was just one big game after big game. So it wasn't like necessarily self-contained as such. You were always looking forward to the next one. So as soon as you beat Rapid, it was about the Saturday, and
I think it had all happened really quickly.
Yeah.
Because even though, like the second half of the 83-84 season, I think we got 34 of our 62 league points. After Christmas. That year, we won the FA Cup and we stood toe to toe with our
Liverpool,
friends and neighbours in the Milk Cup. Over 2 games. But no one in the right minds was tipping Everton to win the league in the 84-85 season. And no one was saying, you'll win the Cup Winners' Cup and you'll come very close to winning the FA Cup.
No.
We were like a rapidly developing team.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone foresaw how good we were going to be.
Yeah. See that photograph, the Pete's album there, that's 84, isn't it? So they got the Charity Shield and the FA Cup. Yeah, I think, it was so quick, it was hard. Especially when you're young, it's hard to try and make any sense of it. It's just happening around you, which made it more exciting. But in some respects, I won't say less enjoyable. You didn't have a chance to savour anything. I know that sounds bad now when you've not won anything for the years, but you are right. And that was at the end of that season. It was just one game, big game after another. And you went through, we won the Cummins Cup. It's about Saturday now, isn't it? And I remember we got the coach, didn't we, back, and I think it's funny, we said about people going. I know there's lads who didn't go because for a number of reasons, because like school and stuff, is because they thought next year would be in the European Cup,
right?
So they thought, well, this will be us next year, And I remember we come back on the coach with me, and remember talking to a few people now be known as Everton Dars, probably like my age, on the back seat, and they were talking about the 60s and stuff, and they were saying this time next year it'll be the European Cup, and and we all know why that didn't happen. Yeah. But I remember coming home and just like going to bed and then Wembley was like 2 days later, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think. We had every right to think that now that we'd kind of established ourselves at the top of the tree, it would continue for a number of years.
Yeah. I think there's a few people I know who regret not going.
Yeah.
Now, they weren't obviously to understand, they weren't obviously to anticipate, what was going to happen. But I think they go now. But you just thought, you're on this in the conveyor belt of success, weren't you? And you just thought this is going to continue. And I was thinking back to that conversation on the coach, come back this time next year, it'll be the European Cup, and it never happened. I mean, I think the other thing I said to you before I come on air, and be insistent on Pete on this, do you think the players should have come back from Rotterdam on when they did, or should they just stayed there and gone straight to Wembley on the side to London on the
I never really thought of that as an option. I mean, I was thinking really during the game at Wembley, should we have maybe played for a draw?
Yeah.
And would that have given us more time?
Yeah.
I know no one really wants to replay in the FA Cup, but
yeah, to manage it, because it obviously affected us. The game, as much as the conserved energy. I think when we got to the final, we were just lost that little bit of an edge we had. And United played well. Ron set up his team well. But I think back, when the players come back on the Wednesday night, sad that they didn't celebrate when they got back into Liverpool. But then, whatever happens, you've then got to. It's just daft when you think about it. You flew home, and then you've got to travel to London. On coach, not on train or flight. You've then got to travel to London on the Friday. And the one thing that knackers football is travelling, and especially in those days where it was obviously the support in terms of the medical side just wasn't there, and people didn't really understand how it worked as much now. They just thought it would just be like going to like 84. They went to Watford. I think they went the day before, but that was fine. They'd not had a Cup Winners' Cup game, a major final on the Wednesday, and I just thought, I know the players who said, no, it didn't affect us and stuff. Regardless if they celebrated or not, I think physically it did affect them having to fly back to here, then to go to London then on the Friday did affect them a lot. You could see that on the Saturday, couldn't you?
And there was key moments of that game that could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Peter Reid's shot just goes outside the post.
It did John Gittman studs, didn't it? Yeah.
If Reid had been allowed to go through by Kevin Moran, I know Reid wasn't prolific in front of goal.
Yeah,
but
there was 3 players, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then, all right, Pat van der Nouw maybe allows him a sliver of an opening, but it was a superb finish by
Nom's a great player, wasn't he?
To win the cup.
Yeah, and so that was just one game after another, you know, and I don't think the cup final defeat, was the trouble, but like two trophies is and in the Charity Shield at the start of the campaign because it was against Liverpool, and it remains our only European success. I mean, and since then, we've been in Europe quite a few times. What's the nearest? There's a Fiorentina, the nearest.
Well, even that was the last 16.
I can't think of many European highlights since, but it was. You just thought this time next year we'll be in the European Cup, and obviously the ban, as you well know, I've written lengthy about the ban. It wasn't necessarily as major impact as what people think on the decline of the team. But in May '85, you didn't really think about that. It was about this time next year it'll be the European Cup, because you just thought it was just going to continue. And by then we'd established ourselves, hadn't we, as a big name. I mean, and we got plenty of plaudits in the press. Far more plaudits in the press for the game against in Rotterdam than say against Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack Powell in the Mail said that this establishes Everton as one of the great post-war English teams, which is some compliments for the team that, as you say, Peter, had only been going for 18 months, but such had been the progress. So we've now got a reputation as being big successful club, who, unless something happens, is going to carry on like that for the next few years. And it did, I suppose, in some respects.
Well, it's over to David Moyes now. And he's won a European trophy with West Ham United. Have to do it back here at Everton, so we don't have to wheel Gav and Pete out for a 50th anniversary special. But thanks for the memories, gents. Terrific tales for what remains Everton's only European trophy to date.